Time now for the Sunday Talk. A week on, change that's come to Ottawa is hard to miss. Already, there's a clear difference in tone and style coming from Justin Trudeau, and it was noticed around the world.
He's undeniably a good-looking guy.
He is very, very good-looking.
He's a very handsome man.
Let's face it, the world's reaction to Trudeau, pretty superficial. Aww. But here, Trudeau's win goes more than skin deep. Trudeau promises politics itself will change.
Sunny ways, my friends, sunny ways.
But those promises are nothing new. They're a campaign genre. Take Barack Obama's Hope and Change of 2008.
We need change in America.
And Stephen Harper himself back in 2005.
We need to turn the page and make a change. We need change to make government more honest, more accountable, more democratic.
The reality after an election has a habit of falling short. For Trudeau, meanwhile, it isn't just style. He's on the hook for some ambitious policy change.
We have the next climate change conference, the COP21 in Paris at the end of November. I am going to show up there with all 10 premiers.
Taking in 25,000 Syrian refugees between now and January 1st. It is our intention to stop Mr. Harper's failed approach on marijuana.
Carry through on that will carry costs. So when the honeymoon is over, how real will real change now seem? I'm joined by our panelists tonight. Jonathan Kay is editor-in-chief at Walrus Magazine. John Moore is a talk radio host here in Toronto. And Tasha Keridan is a columnist with the National Post and iPolitics. So I know you're all eggheads, so let's start with the really serious thing.
Thanks.
His hotness. John, you actually sent along a copy of the world's hottest heads of state.
Just so we could approach this discussion scientifically. Look, by the way, the tone of the international coverage has been a little worrying about focusing on how good-looking he is. It's not like we elected Prime Minister Zoolander or something like that. What I think we should focus on, though, that list, you had the top 10 national leaders that was circulated on the internet. It should be noted that Justin Trudeau was the only G7 leader on that list. You know, I mean, there was like Prince so-and-so of Luxembourg. I mean, who cares? I mean, I'm sure he's very fine-looking, but G7 country, our leader, so I think we should take some pride in that.
Or the others should step up.
Yeah, step up their game.
I thought Prince Felipe of Spain was on that list. Anyway, but
yeah.
Regardless of that, yeah, he can enjoy his hotness moment, because as we've seen what happens to leaders when they're elected 4 years, 8 years down the road, the hotness fades under the pressures of the job, so enjoy the hotness now. The irony, though, Wendy, is that when women are critiqued for their looks, we always howl about it. It's sexist, and here I think that no one's complaining, because we have the hottest prime minister in the world, apparently.
You know, it's part of our brand. We should take it. I mean, nobody really cares what Justin Trudeau was elected for outside of the borders of Canada. And when I saw a tweet on Tuesday that said, I'd like to prime his minister and house his commons, woot woot, I thought, you know what? Let's take what we can get. If this is going to promote tourism and our brand, love it.
Don't we want to be respected for our brains, though?
No, why bother?
No, okay. Well, he was elected for other reasons. Canadians aren't superficial at all, ever. They did make a choice. So, Tasha, were they choosing big change, or were they just trying to get rid of Stephen Harper?
I think it's a combination of both. I think they were choosing big change in that the Liberals are proposing big change. They're proposing a lot more spending. They're proposing deficits, something we haven't seen in a while, and remains to be seen if he can deliver on all that. But I think they were also trying to get rid of Harper, and that was the anti-Harper vote that consolidated behind Mr. Trudeau. So they voted for, I think, getting rid of Mr. Harper. Are they ready for all the change? I don't know.
Change?
Yeah, I think so. And Tasha, you're absolutely right. It was a combination of things. But I've looked at Insight, which is part of Navigator Communications, did some research where they actually did focus groups across Canada, and they did phone polling as well. And what they found was that people were so tired of the negativity, and they were so tired of this sort of hectoring government that was always telling them that Canada was going to fall apart if they didn't re-elect this government. But they also, when they asked them, are you happy with who you voted for? Are you happy with the new government? And people said that they were. And so it's not just that everyone woke up on Tuesday with a hangover saying, what the hell did we do? At least we got rid of Harper. They're actually quite happy with Justin Trudeau.
But are they trying to undo things, or do they actually want him to do new things?
Both. I think absolutely. I mean, people remember the first years of Diefenbaker under his majority. All he did was undo Liberal Canada. And I think that a lot of people are looking forward to Justin Trudeau undoing very simple things like restoring the long-form census, unmuzzling government spokespeople, letting scientists do what they want, refunding things that have been completely defunded. I think people are looking forward to that.
What kind of change do Canadians want?
I actually agree with what John said. There's some things that Justin Trudeau can do with the stroke of a pen. For instance, one thing he promised, eliminating government propaganda from the airwaves. So we saw this a lot last couple of years, partisan propaganda masquerading as public access messaging.
Yeah, I wait to see that. I'm sorry, when all the infrastructure starts pouring, the money starts pouring in, not to see signs in my neighbors that saying brought to you by the Liberal government, I'm waiting for it.
You know what, I'm actually optimistic enough to think that he's going to make good on that. That's one thing. I think the infrastructure is a huge thing. Obviously, marijuana reform is a huge thing. I think people expect action on C-51. Unlike the NDP, the Liberals are not going to destroy it outright, but they have promised to finesse that. I'm actually surprised by how much people do talk about C-51, and he's already done some stuff. He's already pledged he's going to end the ISIS bombing. I mean, that's something he's already made the phone call to Obama. So that alone is a huge stroke.
Well, some of these things he can do with a stroke of a pen, I agree, but some of them will also cost money to do. And that's where I'm wondering how he's going to fit this within the $10 billion envelope. And if that envelope is going to be bigger in the budget, all of a sudden the deficit is going to be a little more immodest than he said initially, how people are going to react to that. Because I agree, he's promised things to everyone under the sun. How can he deliver it on that money?
Yeah, but there's also been, I mean, we're sitting here talking about policy. I sensed, and I talked to an awful lot of people in the week since the election, that people are just relieved that there's something new. It's like fresh air. And some people exaggerate. I mean, Robin Sears, an NDPer, wrote this column that essentially said it was like the Wizard of Oz after the Wicked Witch is dead and the flying monkeys and the guards are all saying, we're free, we're free. But honestly, people feel this, sunniness, if you want to borrow from Justin Trudeau, that something new is happening and we're done with the 10 years in the dark.
There is an element of that. I happen to work for an organization that organizes talks in Ottawa as part of its mandate. And one of the things you do in Ottawa when you organize an event is that you sometimes have government people there, whether they're scientists, spokespeople, or officials, experts. And already people are starting to be more receptive, as opposed to saying there are 27 people I have to ask in the PMO before I can even answer your email. You'll actually start to get communication from people saying, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So there's that somewhat Wizard of Oz aspect to it, where people can just communicate without fearing that some 23-year-old in the PMO is going to come down on them because they didn't use conservative-approved terminology in their response.
So money is always an issue. There's a lot of promises made. When does the love die? I mean, what are you going to watch for?
Well, I don't know if it'll die at this budget necessarily. I think the love would start to die when it starts costing people money. And that means, for example, if for any reason, or for many reasons, growth does not increase, if job numbers in particular don't get better, and if unemployment would get worse, I think then people would start to say, what's going on here? I think if he has to raise taxes for any reason beyond what he said on the wealthy, people are going to start to be annoyed. So if it costs you money, people, and I don't think that'll happen necessarily for the first 2 years, but I think in the last couple of years it will happen.
The reason it'll happen in the first budget is because if Trudeau makes good on his plan to soak the 1%, all the limousine liberals who voted for Trudeau are going to say, hey, I can't afford my limousine. This sucks. And I think there are a lot of wealthy people who voted for the Liberals on social issues and so forth who have not done the math on just how much it's going to cost them.
It's funny you say that because I actually know one Liberal, who would be nameless, friend who said, I'm not going to give more money to the party because they want to tax me. And I think that there is a bit of that.
Did he vote for the party, though?
He used to be a supporter, and he probably did vote for it. But the sense of they're taking from me, I think, is a real thing. And it could be some, but
I don't think anybody in the 1%, and there are only 250,000 of them, voted for the Liberals if they did, without knowing that their taxes were going up. I honestly think, I agree with you entirely. I think we're going to be in deeper trouble come budget time, and we've got $10 billion on infrastructure, and there's probably going to be another 5, even to 10 of problem financing. But I also think that people recognize, and this is what the Liberals will argue, that this is what is left over from us having cut taxes too much in the past. There were no revenues to pay for what we wanted.
The other discussion that happened this week was the news from Margaret Trudeau that they weren't going to be moving into 24 Sussex Drive. $10 million in renos is required, so he may be considering doing that, spending taxpayer dollars on renovating 24 Sussex that every other Prime Minister's been too afraid to open that door. Are Canadians open to that kind of change, or is that a mistake?
I think they are. I mean, if you look at the report that came out some 8 years ago, I think, they said the place was in need of repairs. It's a dump. I mean, really, if you've been there, where they have to put the plastic on the window with the hairdryer in winter in order to insulate, I think people think that the Prime Minister deserves a better residence, and we're talking a very small amount of money, and I still think that Mike Holmes or, you know, Brian Baumler or somebody should just do a TV show where they renovate the residence.
Reality TV at 24
Yeah,
Sussex.
Sophie Gregoire can do it.
They could monetize it that way. That's a great idea. Or sell tickets, have tours. No, I think actually if anyone can renovate the residence, it will be Justin Trudeau, because people will give him a bit of that leeway. It hasn't been done for years. That's why the bill's so high.
Look, the only people who care about where the Prime Minister lives are people who didn't vote for Trudeau anyway because they're too busy collecting little figurines from the old Salada tea boxes. Those people voted for Conservative. I mean, it's so irrelevant to everyone under 50, the idea of where the Prime Minister lives.
So then why has everyone been so terrified of taking that on?
Because people are risk averse. It's Canada, and you know they didn't inhabit this current age of rainbows and unicorns where everything is possible.
That is true, and the Conservatives also made it a point of not spending money on those kinds of things. Their base would have been angry about it. I don't think the Liberal base will be as upset.
One quick question on Stephen Harper. We've talked about Justin Trudeau and change. Tasha, what's Stephen Harper going to do? What's his future?
I don't know exactly what his future is. I don't have insight into his particular mind, but I think that if I had to guess, I would say academia might be a place for him to be. I'm not sure if he will be. He won't give up his seat immediately. In fact, that's causing some dissension within the party right now, but I don't think he'll stay there overly long. But I don't know if I can see him necessarily moving right into the corporate world, but I think he has a lot to say, and I think that he won't be lost to the Conservatives.
Sure.
The Walrus, as you know, is open to all sorts. No, this is serious.
Likes to write.
The Walrus is open to people of all political viewpoints and backgrounds. My contact information is on the website. Serious offer.
Would you write his biography like you did Trudeau's?
My contact information is on the website. And,
There you go.
Point to you, Josh.
I'll put him in touch with my agent.
I do know from a conversation this week that there's a move afoot to try to get him to land at the U of T. I don't think he would do it. I think, you know, the International Monetary Fund, I don't think he would ever go to the UN because that'd be against everything he believes in. But academia is probably a good bet. Maybe the Manning School.
Well, it feels like way more than a week has gone by since we last chatted. Thanks so much.